And we are back on the Rodriguez Show here on Hits 101 Radio, and we have another special guest. He is a producer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, Ma at Ma Music. How's it going, man?
Hey, doing good, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us on FaceTime. Shout out to the guys from Artists Worth Watching. They were the ones that suggested you for the show, and I had already seen your interview before that, and I was really inspired by it. You made Alvin cry, which is great. But it was really moving what you guys talked about.
I love those folks, man. I've known David and that crew for, man, it feels like 6 or 7 years now. So I kind of worked with them on music, all types of music for a long time. So they're basically family at this point. So I really appreciate that connection with you guys.
Yeah, and they're great guys, and yeah, they referred me to your story and your video, and it's great, man. The music that you're making, we'll talk about it. The new single, Pomegranate's Delusion, which is on all streaming sites. We'll get into that. But I wanted to start where I start with everybody on this show, is how they got started. So it says in your bio you started as a guitarist, but where was the initial inspiration to even start making music?
Sure. Well, I mean, like everyone, I think we all get glimpses of music as we're younger. You know, you get inspired by different sounds and ideas. Your family, your mom and dad are playing music. You know, you're always inspired. But the thing that really kind of gravitated me to creating music was a friend of my father's was showing him how to play guitar. Basically, he was doing some lessons, some acoustic guitar lessons. And that kind of sparked my interest. And then during the summer between middle school or elementary school and middle school, I used to skateboard a lot. So I was a skateboard kid before all of this. You know, I was out here doing my kick flips, my heel flips. I was out there for a minute. And during that transitional period from elementary to middle school, another friend of his had an electric guitar, a really super awesome red Stratocaster, dropped it off and said, you can borrow it for the summer. Yeah. And that was it. I grabbed onto it, and then I just went on just pulling up all these guitar tabs, System of a Down, Tool, you know, it was just, I was in it. I was just like sucked in. And I think I never looked back. And ever since then, it's been one iteration of creating music, whether it's been with a band or whether it was by myself or producing for other people. It's just like basically that moment on, I realized I had something that I was deeply moved and interested by, and I didn't let go.
Yeah, well, it's cool when you find that early. And it's something you did talk about in the Artists Worth Watching interview, is like, if you could go back and talk to your younger self, you would tell yourself, don't doubt yourself. And I think that's a great thing to say, because if you hadn't, taken that step to be like, I'm going to go all in on this guitar and start making music, then we wouldn't be here where we are today,
Exactly. Yeah. I agree completely. That's a sentiment that I still share with friends to this day, this sense of trusting yourself. And if you don't have that confidence to trust yourself, then surround yourself with folks that can see your vision and support you and are part of your team. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's important. Definitely more now than ever as we continue to get older. You want to inspire people, but also want folks to be inspired by you as well. So it's a collaboration for me.
It's tight. Yeah. And then so you mentioned you've produced for other artists ever since like 2011. You said you've been making beats here and there, and obviously now we're to this point. But how does it work when you still produce for artists? How does a collaboration with you work?
Sure. For the most part, I mean, most of my collaborations happen in a studio outside of my private studio. Early on, I worked out of a studio in downtown Fullerton, not too far from Santa Ana, man. Yeah. So I kind of really cut my teeth for 3 or 4 years there. The studio still exists. The same owner is not there anymore. It's some other group of folks running that studio. But basically, I would bring artists in. We would produce in real time, and we would get the bones, the foundation of the beat or the instrumental. We would record vocals, and then I would take the record home and kind of finish it off and massage it out and figure out what it needed and kind of work through. Basically, at that time, we were early in terms of like collaborating. We were trying to figure out the right way of of having equal amount of input. So I would take it home, work on it, send it off. They would give me some suggestions. I would bring it back. I'll do a little bit more, and then we would finalize it in the studio. We'll do a session, and we walked in and kind of finalized the product, the production and stuff. So it was fun. That was early on, and as I transitioned out of that studio, folks that I worked with really trusted me. I had already been working with them for quite a while, for a few years. So they were able to tell me, hey, I need X, Y, and Z. I'm really in love with this artist, and I really like these sounds. I take that, digest it, and then spit out a few ideas, and then they would point out one and say, let's develop that. And it was really awesome, man. Those were some of the most fun times to kind of be creative for myself, because folks were trusting me to write for them, right? So it's a privilege, and it's humbling to do that. And also there's a lot of pressure, because you want to provide them with the best sounds, the best ideas, and you want them to shine, right? So I think I grew a lot during that period, and after that which is where I'm at now. I'm starting to write for myself, and kind of allow myself to engage and work both sides of the window. I'm producing for myself, but also asking myself, do you like this? Is this cool? Is this dope? Is this beat going in the right direction? So it's such a weird place to be in now, but it's super, it's what I've been wanting to do for years. It's just finally happening now. So really happy for that. Those almost 7 years now of just time spent with engineers and producers and artists, and just working with them, and now being able to sit back and say, now it's time for me to work on my original stuff. So it's really cool, man.
Yeah, and it's all part of the the mastering of your craft process. So if you get to this level, so now that you're at this level, how long does it take you to conceptualize and create a song on your own?
So the foundation, or the bones of a record, that can happen from as short as 5 minutes up to maybe an hour. It depends on what mindset I'm in. I mean, personally, I enjoy walking into a session, my own production session, with inspiration on the docket. I know that I've been listening to certain songs that I really love, and I know the emotions that those make me feel. So I'll walk into a session and I'll just start writing, and I'll get that loop up to 35, 40 seconds, and I drop it, and I move on to the next, and then I move on to the next, and I do the same. And then the next day I'm able to kind of go back and look at what ideas really stuck, and what ideas were maybe too derivative or not, didn't give me the emotions that I wanted. So if I'm exploring some crazy sounds, if I have these cool, unique samples that I want to do something with, that I might be more meticulous. I might spend 2 or 3 hours on just figuring out how to use this sample on this beat or whatever. But a lot of these records, my upcoming EP, those happen in the first format. I walked in with all this emotional inspiration. I wrote, and out of like 30 ideas, I whittled it down to 5, and that's the EP that that's forthcoming. So
that's exciting.
That's my process. I know other folks work a little bit differently, but I love to just spit ideas out, because nothing's very linear for me as a creative, and as other folks who are creatives understand. You're not thinking about how you're going to finish the record. You're just feeling it, and you're writing, and you're getting through it, and then you walk away and go, what the hell did I just do? Or go, wow, that sounds amazing. Something's there. Let me pursue it. Wow, it's exciting. So I mean, I have tons of, out of this EP, like I said, 25 to 30 songs. When I've released other records, same thing. That song might have came from a batch of 20 that no one will ever hear, because they were probably shit. and this is the one, and that one was the shining light, the one that kind of was asking to be completed or refined. So that's my long answer to your short question.
No, no, it's okay. Well, it kind of leads perfectly into what I was going to say about pomegranate delusion, which
Yeah.
you described as equally introspective as it is impulsive. The coexistence of these opposites is real, and the idea that one is more important than the other is a delusion. So what you just explained to me is that sometimes you can do all these ideas, throw them out there, and then something comes out of it just in one day. But sometimes it takes a while. Is that
Yeah.
so? Is that kind of what the process of this single?
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I think there's that. I think the message for me is that like the record itself is exciting and energetic, but also methodical,
Mm-hmm.
and those two worlds have to exist, or two energies have to exist. Not only in music, but in everything. Really,
Mm-hmm.
you can't be always methodical because you might not get what you want, and you can't always be impulsive because then you get hit by a car.
Yeah.
So there's these two worlds that kind of have to coexist, and the idea when I finished the record, I was trying to find a title to this song, and the delusion was the first word that came to my mind. And it's the sense of delusion sometimes can be mistaken for an illusion, or it can be mistaken for a high, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're high, or you're drinking, or you're buzzing, right? You can be in a delusional state,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I gravitated towards that idea because that's what it made me feel. And pomegranates are a unique seasonal food that
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of people enjoy or eat. And
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like there's some rarity to
Mm-hmm.
this fruit, and this idea of having these emotions that sometimes you can't explain or understand, calling them delusions, and then bringing this fruit that's of some sort of rarity together just sounded unique enough, or weird enough to describe what I was writing, and
Yeah.
that's where I ended up with it, and it's wild, and I think all that energy comes from a place of like I used to listen to a lot of rock bands when I was younger, and
Mm.
titles were really awesome and unique, and I
Yeah.
think it made sense to me. And as you guys have seen, my promotional rollout has been all about these pomegranates,
Yeah.
and this kind of space that it exists in and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean, and then and it just shows that you put in, the attention to every single detail of what you do. Like the pomegranate imagery, even the color of it does give me even the vibes of the track. I hear the colors when I
sure,
listen to the track. And so then that's kind of what I described it. That's how I described when I was listening to it to myself. I was like, this is the sound of summer, and the color, all the colors are coming together.
sure.
Is this what we can expect from the EP? Do you have sounds like that, or do you go different directions?
Sure, I think most of the EP it lives in this kind of world bubble, and I mean, if it didn't, then it wouldn't be an EP; it would be singles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the EP now has a voice, and Pomegranate Delusion is kind of it's taking charge. But going back to what you had mentioned in terms of me being meticulous about the visuals, the rest of the records also kind of have that same attention to detail, but I start incorporating other colors. There's the second single off the EP, which I don't have a date for
Mm-hmm.
yet, is called Midnight Fracture.
Mm-hmm.
So the emotions behind that for me is very dark, very midnight blue. The color, the energy behind that is a little bit darker
Mm-hmm.
and emotional. So yes, most of the EP has a lot of low end, a lot of guitars,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of electronic synth sounds
Mm-hmm.
kind of mixed into that scape. So
Yeah.
super excited about it. It's been a long time coming for me to release an EP, and again, like I mentioned earlier, I've probably now accumulated over 200 song ideas
Yeah.
that never seen the light of day, and I'm finally at a place where I super excited about what I'm writing, and
Yeah.
really excited to show people, and hopefully people get it.
Yeah.
I think that's always the concern, but whether you hate it or love it, as long as you feel something, I'm down. I'm
Yeah.
cool.
And that's
cool
what it is.
with
I've heard art described as just things that make you happy, but that's not true at all. It's any emotion whatsoever is what art is to me. It brings out, it can make you sad. I mean, there's so many emotions, right? But
Exactly.
as long as it makes you feel something.
Totally, man.
So do you have it doesn't have to be a specific date, but for the EP, is it going to be this year? Is it going to be summer? Is it going to be fall?
I don't have a specific date because I'm right now my time and energy spent is being spent on Pomegranate Delusion.
Yeah.
And I really want to push that record. I'm getting plays on Spotify, and I'm really appreciative of that. And I'm just trying to find outlets, places like your show and other blogs to just kind of talk about the music and kind of get my name out there. So I'm really making an effort to push that record. If I was to give a general ballpark, it's probably going to be early next year, because if I wait till the end of the year, I think everyone's going to be in a different headspace with COVID finally starting to die out. It sounds like people are going to be partying at the end of this year, and I'm really excited for that. I think I'm going to be in the same headspace. But early next year is probably the final record of the EP, but I do hope to release the next single in the next 3 months. So I hope people are still around for that, and I can showcase that new record in the next few months for sure.
And if they follow you on Instagram at Maw, MAW Music, it's not just singles, even though the singles are your art. You also have mixes as well, like the Fuck Your Summer mix, which is really great. So you're keeping people, you're putting your name out there by doing mixes, staying, like you said, doing these blogs. So you're a great artist, and thank you for coming and talking to us on the show.
Thank you, Caesar. Thank you, everyone. Rodrigo Show. Love you guys. Thank you, man.
Yeah, let's get into it. We're going to play Pomegranate Delusion on The Rodriguez Show by Maw. Let's get it.